All right, what's going on, guys? So I hit go live about 2 minutes ago on Riverside. Forgot to hit go live over here, so there might be some extension to this. I'm not sure. So if I'm repeating myself, that's why. Anyway, how's it going, guys? We're waiting to hear back from Robert. We're gonna give it about 10 minutes or so and see if he's still gonna be able to make it. He's running late. We got to give him the benefit of the doubt. Robert wouldn't stand us up. We're all so much love and respect. So Gabe and I are here, and let's just warm up the crowd and talk to them a little bit about what this conversation really is, because I think between the two of us, we got a clear idea, and then what I conveyed to Robert, because it was kind of funny, because he said, like, I think we're talking about the astrology of the Q shaman. And I was just like, partially yes, right? And I didn't really have time to respond because I was working, lurking. Um, so I said, hey, Rob, to narrow it clearly for you, Jake will be part of a reincarnation and repeating history trend to discuss who becomes the fated players of the stars on the big stage. And that's how I summed it up for him when I last talked to him this morning. Right, just because he must have not been
Well
too
done. Yeah.
clear on exactly what I meant by the pitch at the time that I said it. But then again, I am translating slick. Yep,
That's so
yep.
true.
And hi,
It's so hard to
and Rock is
synopsize.
here as well. He's hopefully not going to move from that spot the whole show, because that's about all I can freaking stomach for when he gets uppity at this point. All right. Anyway, so yeah, so Slick, we had this conversation after sharing, after I shared with you that I picked a fight with Jake because he still goes by America's Shaman, and to be honest with you, he spends more time as Donald Trump's cheerleader than he does uh, um, uh, embodying the higher spiritual ideals and values that transcend everything. This really irks me about him calling himself a shaman, because it's just like, then use your shamanic gifts. You ought to be talking about how you're running around doing ceremonial freaking grid work and shit with your cool crew. Wow, like, and sure, be politically leaning, but don't be a fucking cheerleader. The shaman wasn't there to root the king. The shaman was there to keep the king in check. It was just like the spiritual leader that was apart
Right.
from the whatever, you know. But anyway, so anyway, the point is that Jake is uh like really running this script, right? Because the way he answered it was about like the higher ideology of things, and I was just like, if you're trying to defend your argument of being a shaman, you could talk about what your life was like at the time that all that shit got activated, and you should be able to sum it up pretty clearly because you've made this your thing. But you can't make this your thing, because your thing originally was that I'm an admiral in the goat fuckers psyop. That's his original story. On his original videos that are still up on Rumble, right? That he thought he was an admiral in the Navy for the men who stare at goats program for the white hats. That was his whole fucking shtick. An honorary admiral title, and he's a guy who's, you know, maybe slightly better off in life than me. So it's just like, who are you?
Right. And it's he's completely walking contradiction on purpose. They call him a chaos magician, and I always point out that the words chaos and magician side by side, that's a broken syllogism. You can't go any further than that. They don't belong together. This walking contradiction, which is the essence of chaos magic. But also, shaman has no place in politics. And so to project political correctness on somebody claiming a shaman, you're just walking into the chaos trap. It's just broken syllogisms all the way. And I will. give him the credit of some real hefty hack game. Homie's got hack game. And
Sure, he's
hack game is how shamans recognize one another.
right. You know, like one of the
Hmm.
things that's really helped me out. I've been seeing it more and more with the various ideas that have become manifest because as a colleague, to the point that I'm a patron, paying the man the 33 every month, James True. And James True has been going through this thesis that that is basically like, if you are America, this continent will adopt you, and you will, on a collective level, be like anybody else who has lived here. And it comes through in the way we have reskinned all the tropes of prior Mesoamerican, Native American civilizations up here, down up to the level of the cult of the blue and the cult of the red. I forget the names, but it's the war god and the weather god, the rain god, and you would give your offerings to either one. The red party, the blue party, right? So
Hmm.
they're religions, right? They're they're death cults that stepped in as intermediaries to these deities, right? And Jake
Right. I
was
would even say there's
Jake's got a
strategic.
messianic complex. He's a lamb of God that was sacrificed to this war god. It's fucking simple. It's fucking
Yeah.
simple, right?
I,
So he's on that, like, he's slightly Gollum'd in that respect. He's a successful one. Like, they got a guy who's programmed with, he's good health, charisma, all these things. It's just that, like, and honestly, I don't even necessarily have any actual real problems with him. He is very likable. I would have loved to have met him before I realized he'd rather just go gung ho with anybody that was going to satiate everything he fucking really believed in after he decided to drop the Admiral and drop the Q. And I guess he's dropped his connection to the White Hats, but now is just there as a cheerleader. He's a Twitter cheerleader person, right? Who I
mhm.
suppose has something else that he does that he never tweets about that is shamanic, allegedly, right? But you might as well fucking show that if you're gonna fucking show off just this side of you, right? So this is why him falling into this character place, this is kind of where you came up with the idea, because you got the hunch that he's living out like a reincarnation in a role or something to that effect, or has been put into fate to a reincarnated situation that's going to happen, right?
Yes, he is deeply. Yep, he is deeply entangled with a great number of the historical aspects of the Tower card. He was put on uh, the capital event on 1/6. Tower card is number 1/6. This
Mm.
card has so much to unpack, and a great amount of it lands in his uh, dharmic. I'm going to say his dharmic destiny. I think that's a little more accurate than to say his karmic. I'm going to say his dharmic destiny is
Mm.
totally bound up in a great number of the aspects of the J6 1/6 Tower card.
Right.
The Aeon, which is up here in Taurus, the Aeon card is what he's dressed up as. As if you look up the Greek mythology of the Aeon, that character's birthday is January 6th. And he's standing there holding a zodiac with his little horns out. It looks
Yeah.
just like Chansley. No shirt and everything.
Yeah. He still. I saw a GIF today that I commented on trolling him, because trollish sorcery can be used for good, where he did the Heath Ledger Joker gif for a comment involving something amongst the Republican revolutionary thing happening, right? And I'm just like, why do people trust you? like I can't remember exactly what I said earlier today, but it was along the lines of like you're still channeling Heath Ledger over here, right? And why are you why are you glorifying in your position a a clown terrorist, right? It's a bit that you've been doing
Right.
since the beginning when you thought you were an admiral, right? So I'm calling him out on these little things because he needs to be more responsible. If he really wants to fucking eventually be a fucking shaman, he has to be way more fucking responsible, right? With the
Yeah.
context of everything.
Shaman is
Because
definitely a way of life.
yeah,
It's definitely a way of life and not a weekend initiation.
right, exactly. It's just like
But
I'm spending years to work up to what I hope is the abilities of an Ulfadnar to be for reals, right? And it's going to take me a long ass time and certain monetary investments that are in my long term plans for these kinds of things, right? And but I still wouldn't even say that that's like quote shamanic warrior. It's spirit. Like I don't think that everything that's spirit world interacting is well is always well described as being quote shamanic. And it's fine when you're like pretending or playing or testing all these things that you were making yourself, but then you cross a threshold where you level up, right? It's Jake has stepped onto a larger prevalence of the stage now. That also ups the standards, right? Because there are new witnesses to who you are, what you're doing, how you're trying to influence. This is another level. And I picked a fight because I said like, this is a worthy fight. I feel like picking a fight. Let's try it. Right? And so far I've enjoyed my counter influence. All right.
and his name is completely contrived. He has way too much of a agent's name. Jacob Chansley, and what's his last name? Angelino or something about an
Yeah,
angel?
Jake Angeli. Yeah, he's an angel. He's an angel of chance, right? He's Jacob the angel of chance. Chance. And he likes the Joker, right? Like he's
Right.
Loki. He's Loki. He's Loki. It's just like I
Mhm.
expect him to turn into Tom Hiddleston tomorrow, right? This is classic. This is effing classic, right? And so, um,
Right.
maybe he thinks he's a Heyoka clown
And
shaman.
isn't
But then again, now we're talking about
isn't
him being
he
a
true, true. So he's popular on 4chan, right? Early on, 4chan.
right. Well, all things that were big in Q they were gonna be for sure.
Right. Right. So 4chan is encoding fortune.
Fortune,
Machiavelli says any breakaway
Chan,
civilization.
Chansley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. And any breakaway civilization, according to Machiavelli, will need
Mm,
fortune on their side. They have deified Fortuna. And
mm.
his name, Chance, is another aspect of Fortuna. And so I'm betting that his entire name is contrived to the utmost. Jacob means supplanter or
It's
usurper.
entirely possible because he did have a very, very small acting resume, which of course was part of the things that were
Yep.
casting original shade on him, even before January 6th, when he was just kind of one of those little jokes that wasn't even meme worthy yet. It was just kind of like an oddity that you saw on the side of your Arizona eye, right? Um, it was what is the point I'm trying to make? I there's so many tertiaries that are important to say that sometimes I miss the mainstream for a second about Jake.
Well, I'm going to point out how if he has a history of being a thespian, an actor, the
That's
Greek
right.
term for actor is
Right.
hypocrite.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
hypocrite really means under control. And to be under control is how you get a career on the big screen.
Mm.
And I ponder how much the word hypocrite is the antipode to a true anarchist. Is the anarchist the anti actor? The anarchist is out of control, is not under control. It has authenticity. But a hypocrite has somebody pulling their strings behind the curtain. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, definitely the actor part on his resume is sus AF, sus AF.
Right, right. Yeah, it's entirely possible, right? Because if part of who you are was like knowing that you were in the basic qualifications for entry level acting, which is what Jake was, it's like Disney, right? You're very enticed by Pleasure Island, right? And doing the things that get you on Pleasure Island because Pleasure Island also is fame, is also your fame engine, right? Because you're fun to watch, right? I get to play and show people how I play, and then they love to watch me play, right? And that is, that's something that's kind of like if you're doing YouTube and you have any content that is showing it's just you showing you something that you're doing. That's the same exact thing, right? Different than what we're doing right now, which is a preconceived conversation, right?
Right.
So
And
in different ways that you slice it.
totally.
So
So
so I
you and I
haven't
were
heard
leaving.
I haven't
We were,
heard I was gonna say we haven't heard from Robert. So I say from this
yeah,
point we can take the conversation where we want to go until he shows up.
right on, right on. So I'll just kind of bring people into
Yes,
the weave that we were having that inspired us to invite Robert into looking into Chansley's birth chart. And it has a great amount to do with what I know about the historical significance of the Bastille. And a lot of people will tell
the
you that
Bastille.
social engineers, the Bastille, the prison tower in France, and a
Yeah,
lot of people will tell you, and in fact, I think when the J6 thing, was being repeated forever and ever in the news cycles, they regularly referred to the Bastille event. And I believe Germany had a similar Bastille event right after Hitler came into power. I forget the name of that building. Um, but essentially, the J6 represents the American echo of these conflagrations through time. So, this card represents the Bastille in history. It also represents the Lisbon disaster, which Voltaire wrote a poem about the Lisbon disaster that got him in a lot of trouble. And some of his writings actually got him locked up in the Bastille. And it was in the Bastille when Voltaire gave him himself his own new pen name, which we call him by today. That's not his real name. That's the name that he had at an apotheosis moment
yeah.
in the Bastille where he became Voltaire. And most tower cards have a volt and a tower. They have an a lightning bolt, and this tower with generally two dudes falling out of the tower.
Right,
And so
right.
every tower card is has a fall guy. Many of the other tarot decks only have two fall guys. And
This
sure
is
enough,
making me.
very fascinating. Yeah, go ahead.
I was saying it's making me think of the of Gohira's 2024 Olympic performance. Because that was I don't know if that was the Bastille, but it was meant to be the Bastille, as it was putting all the elements together of the French Revolution with Marie Antoinette's decapitated head being the fat lady singing. and then this great ship kind of comes in with another opera singer singing while the band is playing. The building is on fire, and they're on suspension cables because they're the fall guys, and they
Totally.
sing like beasts. And what do you have on there? You've got the demiurge on the tower card, right? And that beast spitting
Yeah,
flame,
buddy.
and that's Gohira, Godzilla spitting fire, right?
Yeah.
That's and that's
Yes. It very
that was
much.
one of the greatest. That's one of the
You
greatest
can even.
things to have ever happened in the world with Gojira. I hate the last two Gojira albums because they're obviously like gone environmentally European, but everything before that I think is amazing.
So, one interesting thing, Zerilath, think back to that ceremony. It was not just any tower card from just any tarot deck, it was this color theme. It was in the color spectrum of this tower card in particular. And do you remember all the
Yes.
banners flailing in the wind while they're wailing on the guitars
Yeah.
on
Yep.
the
Yep. Yep. Yep.
out there?
Yeah. Exactly.
It
And
totally encapsulates this card in particular.
yeah. Yeah. With the I think like and Gohira themselves are like the demiurge, but also the fall guy, and then the dove would be the opera singer that comes in on the boat, flying in on the boat. That all makes
Right,
perfect sense.
right.
And the boat itself is kind of like the beast on the bottom, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that all makes a
So
tremendous amount
also,
of
I
sense.
nice. So a lot of the rabble rousing that Voltaire did in his lifetime really ran people raw, and it brought down the aristocracy off of their high horse in a major way, and it set them up to be flimsy and feeble when Marquis de Sade came on the scene about 20 years later. And Marquis de Sade was a huge rabble rouser, and he got locked up in the Bastille. And while he's in the Bastille, he writes the most controversial works of 120 Days of Sodom, and he rolls it up on a piece of toilet paper and he stores it in the wall. That aspect of Marquis de Sade's biography was packaged up and served to us in V for Vendetta. And in V for Vendetta, the female character finds a piece of toilet paper in the wall while she's
Right.
locked away. She thinks she's stuck in there. She's getting tortured and going through interrogation. But this little piece of
Yeah.
toilet paper is giving her hope. Every time she gets back to her cell, she gets her one moment for Mama's yellow pills. And she gets to sedate herself by diving into the story that was written on toilet paper. So the V for Vendetta was actually structured on the biography of Marquis de Sade. And her captor was getting a strange, uh, maybe it seems as though he's getting a strange pleasure, but he's also conditioning her to have tolerance to pain. And so there is a sadomasochism kind of baked into the plot of the film.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I've been
Well,
pondering.
if you can numb someone from their pain, you're you're all there's the you're to numb it is the wrong way to do it. It's to build a tolerance, so that way you can hold your posture. Um, to numb it, which is what they're doing when it's real torture, when it's real abuse, that is cutting you off from your yin connection, right? The that predominant side in female of yin, to be receivers, to be the ones, to be the ones who are good with environment, the way, like this is why goddesses are defined by the
Mhm.
places that they are. That's how you figure her out, the places that they are, and and the gods um that interact with her, right? In reaction to things, because the women are trying to set the way things are, right? And then it's the masculine, the yang, will either encourage the way they want things set or not, right? And this is kind of like that dynamic, right? That is so understood that there's laws about it in Islam. Um, and
So the V for Vendetta got
against that, but I'm just saying that's how serious this is,
right,
uh, as an acknowledgement of nature.
right. And I
Now,
just want to point out in recent events, V for Vendetta got a little hail sign in public, a little steganographic nod when Melania dressed up in her black hat. She was totally signaling the Guy Fawkes event and the V for Vendetta with that black hat that had everybody talking about it. And I
yeah,
did a little video on my channel about it and how it relates to both Spinoza in exile, Guy Fawkes as well, and also vendetta culture at large.
sure, sure.
Uh,
And
so yeah,
I know a
very
little
recently,
bit. Here's the thing, right? Because the look is consistent. I know a little bit about, well, V for Vendetta, the graphic novel that was changed a lot, which, it makes more and more sense because the Wachowskis and the whole shit with Tom, the original writer, is that V was not a hero at all. He was an interesting main character in this
right,
dystopian graphic novel, but he was a terrorist. Like, it was another. He was another just agent of chaos, really, right? He had his own reasons in this complicated system, right? In that graphic novel, there were scenes that made the fascists look really good, and scenes that made them look really bad, right? That whole graphic novel, as I understood it, was meant to be highly challenging to what we think a fucking fascist society actually is. And now look at how we argue about it. And you can see it, like, once you're outside of the left right paradigm, it's painful to watch people within the left and right paradigm arguing with each other the way that they do. And and it's still frustrating even when you know it better than other people that are disinterested but not enlightened. It's freaking
good point,
frustrating,
good
right?
point.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah, man.
here's what I'm
I've been meditating. I've been meditating on dichotomies a lot lately. And
mm,
after the poke, I've come to respect the fact that sometimes the dichotomous thinking of large enough proportion is at least worthy of acknowledging and keeping on your radar to the max. But that doesn't mean you have to believe it. But yeah, the left to the right thing, it is such a huge problem. It's such a huge problem.
yeah.
It's habitual oversimplification, for self-soothing. It's oversimplification for self-soothing. And yeah, I won't have it. I'll have none of that. Thank you.
Right, right. So here's what I'm thinking. Uh, um, I think that I want to save some of this for when we reschedule, because I'm assuming that we're going to reschedule now. Because I can't go all night. It's a work night, and I got to wake up at like 5. Um, but
Man,
I'd like to, like, maybe let's move this into something we can talk about otherwise, because you said you really wanted to weave on seeing Robert Eggers' Nosferatu, and I like that idea. And I think also
all
I
right.
want to bring the squirt back upstairs so he can get some sleep. So why don't you say hi to the audience real fast while I run upstairs and
Yeah,
let the squirt get some rest instead of this bright light in his eyes. Come on, baby. Say goodbye.
right
Bye.
on, right on.
Bye.
I'm
Oops. Okay, there we go.
so I'll actually I'll I'm going to close off some of the threads around this tower card because what was bothering me, very much like Voltaire, when Voltaire comes out of the Bastille, he is even more sharp tongued than ever. He was studying, doing his homework while he was in there. Then he gets in trouble for for being accused of writing poetry against the aristocracy. They kick him out. They put him in exile, and he has to go to England, to London. Uh, and while he's in London, he gets even sharper. And every time he comes back to France, he is developing his cynical uh, criticism, but he is becoming more and more powerful in speaking ironically. He is mastering the art of irony. And when you operate in irony, you're actually operating in the negative space, and you can really get things to, you can really move and shake the world if you master the art of irony, because you're always absolved. It's the most fascinating methodology. And so Voltaire was a high grade ironist, and he was sharp as a whip. He was really skilled at rhetoric. And when Chansley came out and started speaking in public, I was blown away at how rhetorically potent he is. And so I
Yeah.
immediately thought, I'll be darned, this guy is living the life of Marquis de Sade. And
You see,
in a in a
back in
strange
2020,
way, uh,
yeah. I was gonna say, see,
go
back in
ahead.
2020, this is why I originally liked him so much, right? Because like I caught
Uh huh.
like I didn't know about his Rumble channel until after January 6th. Otherwise, there was no time to get ahead of this if he was in perhaps just being fucked with voice to skull and didn't have an event give him delusions of grandeur. Is that back in 2020, there was only a handful of motherfuckers that were really pushing really hard, knowing as much as he did. If you go look at his Arizona Wolf, something Arizona Wolf Rumble channel, right? And
Hmm.
he didn't take any of those videos down. And the first words out of his mouth is that, Admiral Jake Angeli, or Admiral Jake Chansley. I forget
Right.
which. He kind of like, I don't know. He kind of was back and forth, I think, a little bit with his hyphenated name for a while. I don't know. A little weird. Anyway, but his breadth of
Let me let
knowledge
me
was
let
like
me
a
point
mirror.
at something
It was
before you
like
float.
it was like a mirror of mine. It's like, oh, he's just me, but he's like thin and handsome and shit, right? Like, because I was still fat. I'm still the fat guy.
Nah, dude, I've seen you on that puncher bag. Don't lie.
No, I,
So,
I know I'm great
you
now.
said you said Arizona, and I just want to make sure people notice that this tower card is totally down here in the southwest of the United States in the territories map. Arizona is hitting hard with the star card, and it's hitting hard with the tower card in my systems. And
Interesting.
the Pluto is going to be rolling through Texas and Arizona for the next 20 some years. Uh, and also, I just want to kind of bring everybody to the punchline of this thread because it was bothering me that there's always two fall guys. And I've actually studied Marquis de Sade. And in some of the videos out on the internet about Marquis de Sade, they're showing pictures of Voltaire with Marquis de Sade quotes. And I thought that was fascinating because I almost have a I almost could believe that Voltaire is actually a pen persona of Marquis de Sade, or of I'm sorry, that Marquis de Sade is actually Voltaire letting his shadow come out like a Jekyll and Hyde. There might and their biographies line up just enough that there's some wiggle room there. And
Yeah.
Voltaire was prideful that he made up his own name. But then I just want to share this.
Okay.
It
I
was
was I
after
was
you and
actually
I
just
set up
thinking
the
about,
show.
like, I just saying like how much I love the name Voltaire. It sounds fucking cool as hell. And then I was just breaking it down and I was just like Voltaire. So that's, I mean, first off, Fire Snake Dragon says vultures. And I was just like, yes. But then I was also like Valtyr, because I'm working on Old Norse and I'm like, so the chosen of the chosen of the just, because Tyr is the god of the just. The chosen of the just.
Mm.
That's what he
Yes,
named himself
totally.
in
Like,
Norse. But Tyr could also be
yep,
Tor, and
yes.
Tor is the oldest version of Thor. And so Tor, who
Hmm.
is like Tyr, a Jupiter Mars mostly kind of mix of energies, more Mars than Jupiter on the Thor side of it. Tor would mean the chosen of the mighty.
Nice. Voltaire's name has many people have theorized on what he was conveying in his pen name, Voltaire. And some have even said that it's an anagram that actually spells out Eros young, which is the young love, translates to young love. And I found that pretty interesting because, the collective consciousness is embedded in a certain fella named Young. But then I just want to give everybody the punchline. After we set up this show tonight, which without looking at the stars, we did not realize when we made the appointment with Robert Phoenix that tonight is the night that Mars goes direct.
Yeah.
Tonight is the night that Mercury is slipping under Saturn. Tonight is the night that the moon is being passing through Pluto, 180 degrees from the location where Mars is going direct.
And it's great because
And
we're
it was
just
after we sit. Oh,
yeah, I'm saying we're just entering Pisces, and the days are like starting to hit 50 degrees at noon. It's great. I worked in my t-shirt. Oh, it was
yes.
comfy. Very comfy. I'm excited. It's gonna be the same thing tomorrow, but rain.
Excellent. Excellent. So yeah, it was after we had set up this meeting with Robert, and I did not know what a fortuitous day we had chosen. It dawns on me. I think I figured out who the other character falling out of the tower should be, who the other fall guy for the other side of the tracks
Hmm.
is in the social political arena, and it is Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden equals Marquis de Sade, and Chansley equals Voltaire.
Hmm.
And this is super gratifying to me. This is super gratifying. For one, because I don't think anything is coming out natural. I think all of these political dynamics are 100% orchestrated by the Actors Guild, that is actually the CIA that we call
Did you
Hollywood.
did you say 100% on purpose? You said placent, not
Yeah,
percent.
buddy.
Was that a beautiful Freudian slip? Did I just catch your Freudian slip for you? You're welcome.
Oh, yeah.
100%. I imagine saying that in regular context and conversations about stuff. And somebody said, "What did you say?" I said 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Placent? Yeah, placent. Yeah.
That's right.
Don't make fun of my speech impediment.
Yeah, man. Subliminals work for me now, baby. Subliminals are working for me.
Right? I can only imagine how much people like laugh around you. You didn't even know you're being funny just because of little moments like that, right? Which we get plenty of an idea. You talk to all of us in the world, the whole world, if they want to, can hear how you fucking talk. This is what I love about Slick. Oh my gosh. Now here's my question here. So that's an interesting dynamic that you're contrasting the two. We can stick with this if you want, because I definitely was interested in the Nosferatu talk. Whatever you want to talk about. I'm having fun, and you're largely steering the ship for me here. Um,
Right
so
on, buddy.
Jake is not directly like he's not like a big connection to anybody of any kind, where Hunter Biden was head of a company that was at the center of all evil, right? So I mean, like, it is kind of crazy because Jake's largely a patsy. He only knows what's like, the acceptable version of Q truth, right? Which he gets to play in because um whether the elites like it or not, um there's a lot of people on a higher level of thinking playing that game, even if they're being fooled. It's a very complicated puzzle box that forces them to have a sacrifice of various persons' public images at the very least, to the point where they may need to unalive them or stage the appearance of unaliving and make it official. Right? This is the level of the fucking
Totally.
game we're
Yep.
fucking talking about. And 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 it's hard to wrap the head around. I like when I really hear the right people challenging the right things, and so I'll say it again today. Like, James has some very interesting theories about the Epstein thing, that despite all of what seems totally legit about the flight list and what it means as evidence and everything else, that Epstein is largely a scapegoat of theater that's not got anything to do with anything, right? I don't know, um, or doesn't have anything to do with anything of substance for either fixing society or getting the real bad guys and bringing them to justice, right? And so this is, so that's that. So we're looking down on. So this is about commenting on a game, because I want to be able to sit there and say, if I can crack the code of the game that people are playing that they don't realize is just there to rob them of their psyche. Um, like, what would be the straw that breaks the camel's back? Right? And this is my level of thinking, because I have Pluto and Libra in my ascendant, so I'm special like that.
Right. I'm resending some pictures. Are you able to do share screen with these?
Yeah. I'm looking at them on my phone first.
These are
Yep. Okay. All right.
yeah.
It's slide time.
These are yep.
It's a slick slideshow.
Yeah,
Prepare your
man.
acid trip. All right. Hold on a second. Wait, I need to do this in.
So
All right.
so
Excuse me.
I eat I eat grand unifying theories for breakfast.
Of
And a lot of people resent you when you believe that you've cracked the code. And
course.
that's why I don't dwell on them for too long and I move on to the next grand unifying theory. But I'm very excited to share a grand unifying theory with everybody here.
All right. Here we go.
So when yeah, man. Nice. Nice. So when January 6th took place, there was two main characters, our man Chansley and our girl Ashley Babbitt.
Right.
And I have already decoded the epics known as Star Wars 100,000 times, and so my archetypal affluence to the epic of Star Wars onto the tarot cards is pretty dialed in. And when the J6 event took place, I immediately thought of the trash compactor scene. And there, I could go for hours and hours to solidify the correspondence of the trash compactor scene to the January 6th event. But let's start with, can you make it big? The one
So
with Princess Leia there?
yeah. So we're okay. So okay. Either I'm gonna kill her or I'm beginning to like her, and Leia would be Babbitt. And so you're saying that Han Solo is Jake?
You got it.
Okay, got it.
No, not necessarily. Actually, I would say Chewbacca. Chewbacca. I call him Chewbacca now. It's Chewbacca is
Eh,
Jake.
Chew, like I kind of look at
And
Chewbacca. If we're talking about just how Jan 6 pans out, I look at Chewbacca as all of the trad Q-tards. Because remember when he barged into the fucking house floor, right? Well, they opened the door for him, but he's got the fucking spear in his posture is in complete like war victory posture. I mean, it was fun to watch. I was disappointed by the prayer.
right,
But anyway,
it
it's just
it was it it was it was a Bacchanalian rite. It was a
right.
Bacchanalian rite.
Yeah. So the Chewbaccas are all those
And
Chad guys
and
there. Like why? Why? Because they're men that speak American, right? And and they don't and everybody else is speaking Empire, right? But they speak American, right? And and so they're there, and nobody understands what the Wookiees are saying, right? And so he's Han Solo. He speaks
like
Wookiee.
they
He speaks Wookiees.
right, and Chewbacca had his megaphone. The megaphone is a component of the narrative around Marquis de Sade in the Bastille. Marquis de Sade actually uses the piss pipe to whisper secrets of what the elite have been up to tell them to come up here and save us. They're giving us dirty water. They're abusing the prisoners, and he fomented the fire that broke all the prisoners out of the Bastille. History has proven that Marquis de Sade wasn't actually in the building. They had moved him the day before, but he was fomenting vitriol through the piss pipe just like a megaphone, just like Chewbacca. You can't understand him because it's just screaming. But
Gotcha.
uh,
Um.
now let me just kind of weave on
So I'm
Princess Leia.
right
Do you
because
go
oh man,
ahead?
there's so many little things that are run. Let me run one little thing that's going through my head with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm also a little bit thinking about the Hunter Biden angle because I still love the either I'm gonna kill her or I'm beginning to like her and kind of like almost tarot reading the point. And so like who would be um the I'm gonna kill her or I'm beginning to like her for Hunter? Could that be Hillary? Like that's an interesting question, right? Because if this is working if this is working on different angles as everybody is mirroring and projecting each other because they're all psychologically fucked up puppets. Um, you see what I'm asking?
Yeah, in a strange way, Han Solo, he's the Emperor card, number 4 on the Enneagram, but he becomes the Hangman later. But I'll just point out that the Emperor card is Chump in the Thoth deck. It's the Orange Man bad card. So, in a strange way, what happened to her played into the Chump
I'm gonna bring
narrative in
that
a
right
major
back
way.
with me.
And I know you don't like. Okay. Yeah, I know you're not a big Star Wars fan, but the fidelity of Star Wars to the tarot cards is really prolific. There's actually a Yaldabaoth on the tower card. Well, there's a monster in the trash compactor, a one-eyed lizard monster under the water, just like the Yaldabaoth on the tower card.
Yeah.
Uh, and
And the Death
yeah,
Star is a tower.
plus
The Death Star is basically a tower. It's the eye.
totally,
It's the eye
totally.
of Sauron in a sense.
Yes. And there's even look at the paper mache uh, dudes jumping out of the tower. They're dressed up in stormtrooper gear. The stormtrooper gear has black folds in between the white panels. It's absolutely impeccable. And so they're actually dressed up as these characters on this card. Can you go up a little more to the one just above the Ashley Babbitt? And just a real quick footnote, Princess Leia, she blasts a hole
Right.
in the wall and she jumps through, just like Ashley Babbitt leading the charge. But then Princess Leia has a death scene in the subsequent episodes where she is sucked out into the vacuum of space and then miraculously creates some sort of crystal shell and floats back into the ship. But there's a cognitive dissonance inaccuracy in the shooting of the Star Wars film, because when Princess Leia comes back to the ship, she's out in the vacuum of space, but all of a sudden they just throw her on the floor. They don't show how they would open the door or let her come through. So there's a cognitive dissonance that we're supposed to overlook when you're in the film, and it completely comports to overlooking the fact that this Ashley Babbitt thing has too much consistency. Too much consistency
Hey, so I have
to the epics, I
I
should
got a
say.
crazy question because I'm surprised you didn't even bring it up yet. And wow, I'm now looking at it over the door, and I have to say differently. Uh, um, okay, so you put the Sephiroth over here on the bottom left, right next to Chewbacca, right? So Chewbacca, we're obviously talking about Kabbalah,
Yes.
Chewbacca, Kubala, right, right. So it's the pattern on the door above the door, which looks like it's a code thing, right? And you put the Kabbalah symbol that's missing Da'ath, but this would be missing. I don't know all the nodes' names because I'm studying the Norse tree first to have a purer
Hmm.
understanding before I crack the tree of death. So why'd you pick Da'ath missing? Because I think it's supposed to be the top, which is I think is supposed to be the crown.
It's more of a echo of what was in the film. There are actually dots on the building that look like a Sephiroth, but it is broken. It's incomplete. It's only a top or a bottom half. And so I just superimposed it to remind myself that that might be a thread later in the Star Wars weave. So that's really early. When I did the show on Star Wars with One on One, I put the Sephiroth on there because I thought I was seeing it encoded in the art.
Yeah.
And one thing that is really trippy, the entire this Thoth deck tower card has the map of Venice in the negative space. The way that the black line profiles the building, or yeah, profiles the tower, and there's a
Yeah.
big mouth eating the tower, and
Huh.
the mouth has a big eyeball. That is a map of Venice. If you take this card and you put it next to a
Really?
map of Venice, you'll see a million things click into place. And
That
Venice
is
is called the
wild.
city of gluttony. Yes, it's called the city of epicures, which is a code word for the city of gluttony. In this card number 16, it adds up to a 7, and number 7 on the Enneagram is the epicure, or with the
So
shadow of
does
gluttony. And
does
so there is a
Venice
strong Venice weave.
so does Venice have a notable spot that looks like a broken octagon because there's like this octagonal shape that kind of bends into that negative profile of the tower card.
Yes, uh, that's a good question. I believe that is, man, I remember that coming up. It had to do with the geometric forms and like unfolding a geometric shape, and it has triangle panels on it, but it's also kind of serpentine. Uh, but if you can you scroll up just a little more on this image,
Sure.
and I
Um
want to show people
yeah,
the Yaldabaoth eye.
scroll up. Wait, oh, hold on a second. I'm sorry. I'm looking at it the way I can see it and I don't realize what you can or can't see. Uh Scroll up.
Okay, okay,
Wait. I'm sorry. Where'd
a
everything
little
go?
more.
Okay, here we go.
There it is. There it is.
There it
That's it.
is.
So this really conveys a great amount of it because I've actually superimposed the stormtroopers onto the tower. Yeah, you were that's what you were looking at earlier. Uh, and yeah, you can see old Chansley there, but Chansley has the tattoos of a brick structure on his body, very much like a tower. He also has this strange warhammer, but the warhammer, buddy, that is the symbol of the rebellion. That is the symbol of the Star Wars Rebellion League. Is that strange tattoo on Chansley's abdomen, but it also fits the bird on the tower card.
Hmm.
And so the quintessence of all things Chansley unpacks out of the epics of Star Wars that go all the way back to the Bastille and the conspiracy of Venice, really. So yeah, I just wanted people to see the Yalda Bayoth swamp monster from the trash compactor scene
Yeah.
as it
Right.
kind of fulfills. And let me also mention tattoos. Displaying your tattoos is socially acceptable, socially lauded articulation of your own sadomasochistic trophies.
Yeah.
And so I'm not being judgmental. I'm just
Right.
saying when people are really into it, it says a lot about their sadomasochistic relationship with themselves.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that. Like, yeah, like, cause I'm going to get more tattoos, but they're fucking expensive. I don't just want cheap shit. Like, I'm not running to it because God, I need to be just a guy who gets tattooed, right? Those are the kind of people they got a million little
Right.
tattoos that because they were poor, but they just wanted to be inked up and they didn't mind going to get it done all the time, right? And by the way, like,
Right.
people are doing like some people want to fucking take anesthesia and then they're passed out while the tattooing's going on, and people die from that shit. People die from that shit because
Oh, damn. That's
you're
fucked up.
supposed to be awake to be paying attention to the pain your body's going through because you have to spend time to heal because of the ink that you're poisoning your skin with, right? There's a whole thing happening physiologically. And then when it's done, you're fine, right? But it's part of the process, and this is why you've got to be wise with your ink craft, right? And so, I have
Right.
my metaphysical, deeply personal reasons why I got all my ink, and it wasn't just because I loved this little cartoon or something like that, right? People are just weird, right?
Right.
Just
Right.
weird about it, and they don't. Well, they spend the money to do it, and they don't spend the money to do anything hyper meaningful, right? Some people, right? Anyway, um,
Yeah.
but yeah, yeah.
So so if you scroll down to
Oh,
the
oh,
one with
last thing I wanted to say:
can you
Five of Wands.
pull
Been on
down
my mind
to
for 5 minutes.
yeah.
The Five of Wands. The trash compactor scene is also the Five of Wands. Rider Waite Smith, Five
Interesting.
of
Very
Wands.
interesting.
Because he's
Yeah.
holding up the thing at one of the similar angles, and you're seeing three people. It's not all the way there, but you got three people. No, wait, Chewie's down there, so that's four. The swamp monster's no help. But either way, you've got a bunch of people trying to work together haphazardly to make the magic work to save their lives. It's the Five of Wands to the T. Okay,
Dig it.
that's
I
it. We can
totally
move
dig
on
it.
to the next
So
thing after we get that out.
yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. So, speaking from experience with my tattoo, my only, first and only so far, I have a back tat. And the tattoo artist told me, you are asking for one of the most painful locations. They say that the underarm is
Ooh.
really high on the list, and then the back tat is directly on the spinal column. And so I did. I went for
Yeah,
broke.
yeah.
And
The
with
underarm
that
is
in mind,
incredibly tender.
scroll.
I'm saying,
Yep,
yeah, the underarm is
yep. If you
incredibly tender, and then the back is got so many nerves, thin skin, and right up to the bone. Oh my god, yeah. My chess piece
yeah,
was my
it
first. Similar madness of going for such a hard bone area to tattoo over.
right, right. So scroll down just a little more to Hunter, because this tattoo aspecting of the weave is very important. Hunter's tattoo is a back tattoo. And the word sadomasochism comes from Marquis du Sade. And he had a real thing for whips. He had a real thing for whips. And so the word sadomasochism is rooted in a dude who loved to be whipped, particularly where it hurts the most. And so Hunter Biden's tattoo very solidly puts him in the Marquis de Sade aspecting,
Yeah.
and puts Chansley more so in the Voltaire aspecting.
What flashed into my head when you said that is
It,
there's a really fucking righteous Japanese slasher film called Ichi the Killer. This is a fucking cool movie,
I
and
love
one of
that
the
series.
main characters is a yakuza, and this yakuza guy has this crazy scene where he's being oh god, I can't remember exactly the details what was going on, but he was doing they were hook hanging him off the back. And he's yakuza hardcore, so his back is entirely tattoos. There is no skin to be seen on his back. Right? So
Yeah, man.
this kind of Asian underworld thing is probably familiar to this man because of the amount of Asian horrors he's into.
Right?
It's
Totally.
one of these.
So
Yeah,
if you scroll down a little more, Zerilath,
what? Say again?
sorry, say that again.
I'm just saying these fucking people,
We got a
the
little delay
fucking
going.
young Asian horrors that they're into, and ugh. Anyway, let's keep going.
So scroll down. Yeah, scroll down a little more. So this image here with Zerilath, how familiar are you with the Muppets?
Intimately.
Awesome. Okay. So very recently, I cracked the Muppet Tarot card code. And I have been saying for a very long time that the
Ooh.
Thoth deck constitutes the costume department. It is the costume department of all of the entrainment matrices that we have consumed since children. And so we took the hook, we took the bait when we were young, and now we've grown old and we've forgotten about all of these emotional associations, these archetypal imprints, if you will. And they are pulling the string at a crucial time when we are actually in a very serious age in our life where our decision making has the most liability. And so when we took in the Muppets as children, we forgot about that. You put when you become a man, you put away the things of children.
Right.
But that is not how the CIA/ Actors Guild is going to play by any rules. They are pulling these strings of our childhood associations. And the Tower card in the Muppets tarot card system, the Tower card is totally animal. Animal is the red herring. Animal is the fall guy. Animal doesn't speak English just like Chewbacca. The consistency through all of these art craft
Right.
is landing in what people consider politics.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
if you scroll down more, I can weave in RFK is Sam the Eagle. He's a
Right.
falconer since he was
Right.
17 years old. He's an experienced falconer. That puts him on the Magi card for many reasons. The Magi in this deck is balancing an adze tool, which is the nose scrape device from the funeral rites of the Egyptians. He's literally tipping an adze tool off of his fingertips. That is the PCR test. And right next to him is Scooter. And Scooter is an annoying little bastard. And he's constantly obsessed over the schedule. He's carrying the clipboard with him all the time. Scooter is obsessed over the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And Bill Gates is obsessed over the schedule. And
Mm.
these two characters are going to play off of each other like good cop, bad cop on the world stage. But all along, they were embedded like
Right.
fishhooks, like a Tizedi, like your Tizitis from
Well,
when we were
right.
children.
Right.
And they're
Now,
perfect
now Scooter.
correspondence.
Scooter is the right. Well, Scooter has that aspect of like, he's a professional to the point where he's annoying because he's kind of like a priest of the god of the Muppets, and it's just like, hey Muppets, this is a show. Like he comes in to bring a little bit of the right hand path. You see what I mean? Right? It's just like he tries to keep the
Yeah,
show
man.
together. Now, Who do you think he fucking answers to on the Muppet Show? I told you I know this shit intimately. Who do you think his boss is in the Muppet Show? Is it Kermit? No, the fuck it's not. If Miss Piggy don't look good, his ass is murdered. He serves Miss Piggy, and she is the
Whoa.
diva. Who is Bill Gates's diva? Is Hillary Clinton Miss Piggy? What woman wants the world that he is fucking spousing? This little cunt hair, right? This little cuck. What woman does he
Yeah, man.
serve?
Yeah,
What
man.
fucking high
Yep.
dragon bitch of the Draconians is this man fucking serving?
Yeah, man. So, by my read, Miss Piggy, pretty much, she represents Pandora. Um, she also had a close, intimate relationship with Dolly Parton. Dolly Parton is the ultimate of sex, Deus Ex Machina, uh, uh, sex kitten, MK Ultra personalities. So Dolly Parton and Piggy, they're buddies from the show. And if Miss Piggy is the first lady of the Muppets, then that makes Miss Piggy the Pandora of all of the first ladies. And this actually fits for Jill Biden, but it also fits again, just like hand in a glove for the next cycle when we put in Melania. So I put Melania's hat on Miss Piggy in this picture, and I've
Yeah,
decoded the
yeah,
shit out of the Muppets, Zerilath. I've got a tarot card for all these fools.
yeah.
And I
I, I,
never saw it
I like
coming
Dr. Teeth over
until
here,
the
Joe Rogan. It's great.
Dr. Teeth. You totally know these guys. You
Of course
totally
I
know them.
do. Now,
So
Fozzie, is
yes,
that Baron? Is
yeah,
Baron
you.
Fozzie? Is Baron Fozzie? Is that what
I'm
you're
putting
saying?
Baron as Fozzie.
Wild.
That's
Okay.
what I'm saying. Because Foz, yep, because Fozzie is second to inherit the center of the stage. He's he'll come in and fill in the void at when the time is required, but also because of the chariot card.
Yep.
And the chariot card has a great much to do with, I'll just say, the Argo Navis constellation is a minor deacon of Cancer. And in the Argo Navis constellation, there is a homunculus nebula with a baby homunculus nebula inside of it. So there's kind of a lineage of babushka dolls unpacking out of the Carina constellation that is the minor deacon of Chariot. So yeah, the family jewels are stored
You,
in the keel of that ship. So yeah,
I love, I love that Gonzo and Henrietta is Tucker Carlson. He does sound like Gonzo.
yeah, that's bonkers.
That's fantastic. That's fucking fantastic.
Stagecraft, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stagecraft.
Um.
Yeah, Tucker Carlson.
Right.
He Tucker is he is entangled in Gonzo journalism that Hunter S. Biden put on the map. Gonzo means goose. There is a goose constellation, and it's down here in Aquarius when the trucker convoy and all the horns honking were driving people nuts. It was 1 year later from the trucker convoy, from the Tucker Gonzo, that Tucker was fired. He got shit canned exactly on the anniversary of the trucker convoy. And so they are playing to the Zodiac like a perfect instrument. And I am on to them, Zerilath. I am on to them. So
Mm.
yeah, Tucker's career ended on the anniversary of the trucker convoy. And the geese were used as alarm birds in the temple. You have a goose keeper, a keeper of the language of the birds. And the geese will actually tell you when the enemy is approaching way before any other protective animal. And so
I've never
gonzo
heard that.
journalism is just like that. They go out in the field and they actually experience the trauma.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me 1 second. I wanted to just get a full screen on this photo, so I actually lifted this one to open up in, let's see, photo gallery should be fine. All right, cool. Now let me share
Nice.
again. Window, photo gallery. There we go. All right, so this is much better. Now I can
Nice.
zoom, and everybody can appreciate all the
We're-
work you put into this fucking thing. All right, can we see the whole
Yeah, man, it
we
is
see the whole thing?
fascinating.
Good. Okay, good. All right, we can see everything that I see, and I can move this around as I need to. So yeah, you got Frank Underwood over here as Pigs in Space. That's fantastic. Okay, this guy I don't know his
That's
name.
Kevin Spacey.
I know Kevin Spacey. The guy under
That's
Rachel Maddow. I don't know who this Muppet is. I don't remember this one. Was he the
right
news
on.
guy?
I see Robert Phoenix in the house.
Oh shit!
Robert, welcome. Greetings.
Hey Rob, you okay,
What's
buddy?
happening? Yeah, man,
Hey,
good,
hey.
good.
We've been having a good old time for the last hour and 15 minutes. I'm glad you made it. Um,
Man, I'm so sorry. I had a client from Australia, and there's a time change, and I even got her to like move her time up. So
Oh, that's all right, my man.
yeah, yeah,
That's a okay. I we will do a part two with even more time. I can keep going. I got 45 more minutes in me, so I'm really fucking excited. Cool. Robert
I'm
is
glad to
here.
be here. Hi, Slick
Excellent.
Dissident. What's
All right.
happening?
Greetings, Robert. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you again. You know, I don't know if you recall, but you and I were on a 9/11 live stream in 2023 with the Weaving Spiders.
Yes, I absolutely I do remember that. I really enjoyed that experience. That was cool.
That was a great night. That was a
Yeah,
great night. It's so awesome to be with you tonight on the same day that Mars is going direct. You
yep,
know, the
yep.
moon swooping past Pluto and Mercury is swooping past Saturn all today, and here we
Yeah.
are lining up. I'm so
Yeah,
glad you
Yeah.
made it.
and Friday we got the big alignment, right? With the new moon and Pluto's behind the sun and everything is like right out there. It's going to be really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. The Mars Direct and has been really cool. I was talking at the beginning of the show that just the other day we hit 50 degrees for the first time. And so the springtime weather is beginning to creep in right when Mars is going direct. So it definitely
Yep.
feels like that early summer kickoff you were alluding to is going to happen.
Yeah, the thaw is going to start to happen, man. And the water's going to flow, right? The water's going to start to flow. So there's like physical water, then there's like the metaphorical water, like what's going to spill, what's going to come out, what's going to flood, our media space.
Absolutely. So we've been talking a great deal about the
This is
January
really,
6th
man,
and
we are in such a high strain.
oh, I'm sorry, Robert. There was a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, no. Go. So you guys were talking about Jan 6.
Yeah. We were originally talking about Jan 6, so we didn't get into anything astrological about it. So we just kind of went over some of the deocculting notes that um, Gabe had come up with, and some of the revelations, insights, and counter weaves that arose from it, and it was an awesome conversation. And now I think it's great. I think we should go back, jump back on that train, and talk about like so what. So January 6th would astrologically be repeating what particular kind of events in history, right? And Jake, Slick, um, tell Rob again about who you think Jake is a reincarnation of.
I don't know if reincarnation is the word, but we'll just go with it because it's the most has the most explanatory power. Uh,
Okay.
I'd be more inclined to say that this is just they're contriving the echoes of history that have happened
Okay.
before because they know the outcomes from the last time that these dynamics played out in the zeitgeist. So it has predictability power. But a lot of people will talk about January 6th is a 1 and a 6. The 16th card is a tower card. The tower card has a great amount of meaning, but something that I've honed in on around this card is the Bastille. And some of the most famous characters in history who were locked away in the Bastille. And so I've studied Marquis de Sade, the namesake of sadomasochism, and Voltaire as well. As Voltaire's name was made by himself, he dubbed himself Voltaire while he was in the Bastille. And a great amount of people will tell you that the J6 event was America's Bastille event. And you know, everybody sees it on a sliding scale, but that's how it's been measured up to the zeitgeist. And so the two characters, Robert, that really fascinate me in history that relate to the Bastille, Marquis de Sade and Voltaire, I am making a claim that on the world stage now, the remnant of that event is Jacob Chansley, who is a fascinating correspondence to Voltaire. And it took me a while to suss out who is the correspondence to Marquis de Sade, and I think it's Hunter Biden himself.
And we spoke that the name.
That's interesting.
I just want to interject. Then Rob, go ahead and respond. That also we broke down the name that he is Jacob, the angel of chance. Okay, go ahead.
No. I'm just taking it all in. I'm trying to get my bearings just in terms of like reference points and the relationship between the tower and the Bastille, and it's a really interesting correlation. And Marquis de Sade and Voltaire. Yeah, so man, that's good stuff. And I'm trying to look at the chart here for January 6th, which I cranked up. So I got high noon, January 6th. And to your point, Slick, based on the chart, high noon, Aries is ascending, and Mars is at 29. Aries, and the Tower card is ruled by Mars. That's a Mars card. And it's about destruction and fall and violence. So I think that that's really fascinating. And even if you put the sun at noon, which it would be at 12 noon on January 6th, right? It's at the top of the chart, so it's at the peak of the chart, which would also represent the tower. And at that time, Mercury was in Capricorn at 27 degrees, so it put it in an exact square with Mars in Aries on the ascendant. That's a very, very interesting correlation. And if you go to the other side of the chart, Libra, the moon was in Libra at 20 degrees. Right, so you have this T-square that is loaded up on Jan 6th. And so
Totally.
when we think of like the words of the French Revolution, like what are we talking about? Like liberté, right? Liberté. And for me, that's like Libra. Like you can find Libra in Liber or liberté, right, which is liberate or liberate. So the echoes are there, right? And it's the scales of balance and the scales of justice. And then on the other side, you have the violence of Mars. And then they're opposing at the top, at the peak, right, which would be the top of the tower. You've got Sun, Pluto, right, not quite conjunct, but then you have that Mercury at 27 Capricorn. So yeah, man, I think you're onto something with this. The chart clearly is I think a representation of what you're talking about. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting. Like, I bet, yeah. Because in my tarot studies, the tower is almost always the Uranus, right? Popping up on a lot of tarot cards. I have tarot cards. I got the little Uranus symbol on the tower right now. But classical astrology, there would be no Uranus, and Mars would be logical to be the place for when such a thing happens, right? But Uranus gives us a lot of social perspective.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get the disruptive nature, the disruptive quality, obviously, of Uranus. Have you guys ever seen the movie The Game?
Yeah, I was just talking about it a few days ago.
I don't think I saw this. No.
So, so the game is about the Tower card. It is David Fincher's cinematic uh, portrayal of the Tower card, and from start to finish. So, uh, Michael Douglas plays this kind. He always kind of plays the same character, unless he's playing Liberace. He's like kind of this Gordon Gekko-y kind of character. He lives in San Francisco. He's super successful, and his brother is played by Sean Penn. And his brother gets him this birthday gift, his gift for his birthday, and the gift is this experience with this company that has access to everything in his life, right? And he consents to it because he goes through a series of like tests, and he goes through all these things, and he winds up giving this company all this information, and then they wind up using this information to create this experience where he is broken down, right? He's completely and utterly broken down to the point where he eventually winds up like south of the border in Mexico in some kind of chicken coop truck with no money. Like that's how low he winds up going. He goes from being this like incredibly successful like corporate magnate, having his credit cards canceled, and all these events start to happen to him, and he loses his shit, right? He loses his shit, and he winds up getting to this place where he's incredibly low. He has to walk across the border. Like, I'm not even sure if it's his own clothes. And eventually he comes back to San Francisco, and he starts to like weirdly piece things together about this experience. He doesn't quite completely understand it, but he starts to fight back and take control of his life, which has gone completely out of control. And it gets to this point where he's on this rooftop, and it's kind of this sort of, denouement, and they're trying to talk him off this roof, right? They're trying to talk him off, and he's got a gun, and eventually what happens is he does the exact same thing that the guy in the tower cart does, and he jumps off the top of this roof, right? And he winds up falling, and he goes through this glass ceiling, which is that's like stunt glass, which is really thin, right? And he goes through it, and he hits this giant inflatable, cushion, right? It's like they were waiting for him to do this. Like everything that was part of this experience led him to that moment where he jumps off the tower, literally jumps off the tower. And then there's a party, and people have champagne, and they have streamers, and Sean Penn is there, and the guy from the company says, "Hey, buddy, you had us worried there for a moment. We really thought you were going to kill one of us," right? And even when he like decides to take control of his life and gets into this moment where he's going to theoretically turn the game on them, he winds up still being a part of the game. So if you haven't seen the game, it is a cinematic meditation on the tower card. It's really brilliant.
Nice. Thank you for that, Robert. I'm totally going to rewatch it. It's never the same twice. We never have the same eyes when we come back to these films.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Have you looked at some of the historical dates of January 6th by any chance?
No, but one thing I did find very fascinating is the character from mythology who is called Aeon. I believe you've kind of got to look at different spellings. I'm
Yeah,
not sure which one. I believe it's Eaon in mythology, has a birthday of January 6th.
interesting.
And he is dressed up exactly like Jacob Chansley. He's got this crazy bald headed hair with horns.
Wow, wow, that's interesting.
Now,
I
and
remember.
If you know one more thing, Robert. If you look it up on Wikipedia, it's got a generic picture first suggestion, and if you bring that picture in and look closely, there's a little bit of a, a broken order of the zodiac wheel that he's holding on to. He's actually got his hands on the zodiac, but if you pay close attention and you know what you're looking at, there's a missing month.
Are you talking about Aeon? Is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, from mythology.
Uh-huh.
Uh, yeah, and if I don't know if we can screen share to pull it up and zoom in, but there is something of a mistake in the art that seems intentional.
are you
Kind of
talking
seems
about what I was showing earlier? Going back to
no,
that?
nope. It's one from Wikipedia. Just the first image that they show of Aeon. I think it's a mural.
Yeah,
It's
I should be able to pull that up.
okay.
Uh,
Yeah, it's a classic mural of the Aeon. I'm going to
yeah,
use the
yeah,
restroom. I will be right
yeah,
back,
sure.
fellas.
I also wanted to say that I believe January 6th in certain pagan traditions is one of the dates that is determinatively the new year was a January 6th. And I believe it was also other kinds of pagan holidays also happened to fall on January 6th. So there was something of someone's significance to this on, I believe, a solar uh, level. So Aeon, deity. Okay, good. I can share this. Let's go to, there we go. And boom. That's what's on Wikipedia. Full frontal.
There it is.
Yeah. And so he's got a Mobius strip
Right.
for an astrology wheel, and
Yeah, I can
there's
see.
and it's obscured by these people serving this person or children with mom, or I'm not sure what that is. I don't know this mythology very well. I assume it's Greek.
Right, right. Um, yeah. Uh, so we can see here sort of the procession, right? So there's Gemini, the twins. There's Cancer, and then below that there should be Leo, right? There
Where
you
are we
go.
at?
So there's
Cancer,
Gemini, there's
Leo. Yes, that's the
Cancer,
lion.
Leo, and then we would have the Virgin, right? Virgo. That would be here. So then on the other side, what do we have?
Whoops, 1 second. It's a little hard to navigate. So this all here is obscuring. And then up here,
Right. So that theoretically, the next astrological sign should
Capricorn,
be,
right?
well, after Virgo. If we're following that
Oh,
procession, it should be Libra. But this does not look like Libra to me.
no. Let me see if there looks like a Libra in there. No.
I think
Actually, wait
maybe
a minute. Look at this. I think that's Scorpio.
yes.
This could be Libra. This could
That
theoretically
could
be
be
Libra.
Libra.
Right.
So
So
the discrepancy that I was picking up on is really close to the hand of the character on the wheel,
mhm.
if I recall. Right, some of them are missing there, but let me
Here,
see.
holding Pisces.
That's Pisces.
There's Capricorn.
Right. So that would
Capri-
be Aquarius.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me see.
Now, what's okay? So what's weird here, right, is that theoretically, if that's Pisces, then this should be Aries.
That's
And then
it.
below
Aries is missing. Yes, thank you.
Aries is missing.
Well, hold on. Aries, can you see my cursor? Aries would be here because
Right, because that looks like
no.
Taurus
Well,
to me.
well, hold on.
That looks
Where's
like that looks like a bull.
so see Pisces? But is that a bull or I don't know what that. I don't even know what the hell that is.
Well,
That's
so
Gemini.
if we're going sequential, it would be Taurus, Gemini, and then Cancer. So
Right.
there is a gap between Pisces and Taurus, which is interesting.
Right. And
Yeah.
the word aeon kind of, it means many things, but one meaning is a segment of time, a portion
right.
of a frame of time. And
Right.
so his hand is at a place where a whole frame of time is missing. And I'm sure there's,
Right.
many answers in the art circles as to what that is signifying.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's time missing all over. I mean, look at this. I mean, right here, this looks like it's even like this looks like it's torn. Like,
Yes.
is it saying that it's also damaged? Has this been erased? Is this just about memory, or was
I
there
don't know,
just
man. I'm
or
loving the
there's a
mosaic.
reaction?
I'm loving the mosaic work, though. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now that I'm looking closer, he really doesn't have horns. Those are kind of wings on his head, but it still fits Chansley in a major way to my, to my lens.
Okay.
And Chansley, his tattoos, Robert, he has a brick tattoo on his front, and he has some sort of bird or an anchor tattoo on
Right.
his front.
Right.
But the brick is very correspondent to the tower card. And the bird is actually on the Thoth deck tower card in particular, that is in the same shape of his tattoo. So, yeah, very fascinating how far back they're reaching with the symbols on J6 from a mythological character born on January 6th.
Okay. Hey, get
Yeah.
this. There are 14 positions along this strip. I counted each by band, like 1, 2, 3. Like you see where my cursor is, so that's how I counted. Right there's 14 of them. This is a continuous band, and it's way longer than all these others. This here seems seems to be fragmented there. Perhaps this keeps going here. This is all one long band right here. This would kind of suggest, I think what we're looking at here is think of this kind of like Kronos, like, and his hand is on Pisces, age of Pisces, right? Golden age is the longest age, and it's down at his feet. That's what I'm thinking.
Interesting.
But there's also these unknown ages above his crown.
Yes.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, yeah. So I think you could also make a case if you scroll back up, if you go back up to the top.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. If you go back up to the top, it's almost the gap or the space at the top is almost as equidistant as the gap in the space at the bottom. So I think that's noteworthy. But maybe the bottom might be a little bit more stretched out, right? But if you take into account, if you go back up, right, like you go to the top again, right, like this could theoretically be conceived of as heaven, right? Like
right.
this would be like the equivalent of like the midheaven actually in the wheel. So
right.
This would be considered like heaven or open space, and then the bottom, which it looks like it might be a little bit bigger, but if you take this open space here at the other part, right, it to me it's almost like we're getting into as above so below territory, because they're almost matching each other in terms of almost equidistant. So this would be related to the earth. The other would be the space of heaven. And what's interesting is the foot placement too. Like he's stepping off the wheel.
Yeah,
Right.
it's very much like the star card, right? You know, where it's like it's very Aquarian, where she has 1 foot on the land and 1 foot in the waters,
Yeah.
right? And the thing is like there's something up with his feet. The foot that is still on the strip seems to have a band going over the
Like he's tied to it. Like he's tied to the wheel. Right.
it
Like
no, like it looks like there's like a it looks like he's stepping on a cloth. Like I almost want to say that like he is trying to perhaps hold the wheel. He is perhaps trying to commit the sin of stopping time, right?
well, there's something about time here. There's definitely something about time, and so the wheel to me represents eternal time, right? Because theoretically these things are unchanging, right? The wheel is
Right.
eternal time, and he's yoked to eternal time. This is what I think. This is just my take. He's yoked to this eternal time, but by stepping off of that and into, for lack of a better term, Terra, right? He's disrupting time. That I mean, this is, and I'm just kind of looking at this bit on the fly here without any, you kind of pre
Right.
pre knowledge of this. But there is something about time here, Steve. I would totally agree with you. And then we're dealing with the two trees as well, right? And they're not like twin towers. They're not obelisks, but they do represent sort of that twinning,
Right.
that those things would also be connected to. This is really
Yeah,
fascinating.
it's a framing mechanism and it gives you a sense of environment that this is happening in, right? It's not happening in a liminal space. It's happening somewhere in nature. It's implying nature. It's got something to do with it's very these people are lounging and relaxed. There's a person who's the most clothed person is this small person right here
It almost looks
below.
like a vizier of some type.
Maybe this person, they seem to have drawn breasts on them. Not very large breasts, but there's the way the tile work is in concentric circles in the chest area, right?
Yeah.
Very
So
pronounced concentric circles.
so I wanna point out something that has been here kind of staring us in the face, and it is the very subtle shape of the letter Q to the entire circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
And you
Q
know
sh-
what? This could conceivably be gold. What the band is made out of.
yeah, buddy.
It feels to me like he's contemplating stepping out of eternal time and into temporal time. Like this is kind of what I'm getting for this. Like he's thinking about it. He's thinking about, should he enter into the affairs of man? Should he enter into the realm of the earth? And he's 1 foot away from doing that, but it's almost like he can't because of that band that I think ties him to the wheel. It's really interesting. Really, really interesting. You know, Jacob Chance is a Cancer, if I'm not mistaken. That's his
Interesting.
astrological sign, which puts him in opposition to Capricorn, which is January 6th.
Big time. And that's where Mars is coming out of retrograde as we decode the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
for sure.
timely.
So this may mean absolutely nothing at all, but it may give us another bit of insight into January 6th. Because I looked at this date historically. I'm like, what's going on with January 6th? What's happened in the past?
Here's
One of
the Wikipedia explanation says Aeon, the god of eternity, is standing inside a celestial sphere, decorated with zodiac signs. Sitting in front of him is the Mother Earth goddess,
right.
Tellus, the Roman counterpart of Gaia. with her 4 children who possibly represent the 4 seasons. That's the brief explanation.
Okay, that helps. That helps a lot. That explains the difference in their headgear. There's 4
Yeah.
seasons, and then the one with the maybe the one with the clothes at the bottom is the winter time because she needs the most clothes.
Now it says here that time, which Aeon represents, is perpetual, unbounded, ritual, and cyclic. The future is a returning version of the past, later called Avam, from the Vedic Sanskrit. This kind of time contrasts with empirical, linear, progressive, and historical time that Chronos represented, which divides into past, present, and future. Aeon is thus god of the cyclic ages and the cycle of the year and the zodiac in the later part of classical era. He became associated with mystery religions concerned with afterlife, such as the mystery of Sibyl and the Dionysian mysteries, Orphic religion, and the Mithraic mysteries. In Latin, the concept of the deity may appear as aeternitas on perena seculum, sounds like secular. He is typically in the company of an earth or mother goddess, such as Tellus or Sibyl, as on the Perbiago plate. Then there's a picture of the plate, and yeah, there he is on a wheel on the plate. It's not a Mobius strip, but he's holding a spear, and there's a man under the wheel holding it up, kind of like Atlas.
Okay.
And then there's a bunch of other stuff on the mosaic as well. But that's just a brief. I didn't want to go too off on a tangent. But I think that's a big part to note, that because it is a Mobius strip, we are also talking about this makes sense with the non-linear time thing, because you are going to come back around on the other side of the loop. You're on the inner circle and then the outer circle, which is the oscillation of the universe.
I dig it. I dig it. So, Robert, by chance, have you seen the film The Pope's Exorcist yet?
No, I have not.
You've not? I just watched it the other night, and it really hit home for me. My real name is Gabriel,
Mhm.
and the main character of the film, his name was Gabriel. He's a real historical exorcist, appointed to the Pope by region. He was the Vatican regional exorcist. He's a real person, and his name is Gabriel. And they said his name like probably 17 times throughout the film. His name was a MacGuffin of the film. And so it really hit home for me. I was kind of hoping you had seen it because
No, I think I've heard of it. I'll put it on my list. That sounds interesting.
it's very worthwhile. I'll say it's very worthwhile. Um, and Zerilath, will you let me show off for Robert a little more?
What? Yeah, of course, of course. One thing I did want to say, now that you're talking about showing off, let me Leo out for 5 seconds. Robert, I've been having fun researching my family name, and I've got a hard trace on where I go back to, because the Purdy family name, which is my actual family name, Purdy, goes I found out that it was first registered in the Middle Ages in a part of northern England that was largely which was it was Norwich or Norfolk, England. I think it was Norfolk, England, and it's a Norman settlement area. So this is not only confirmation that I am a fucking Norseman, it's also confirmation that my family is of Templar lineage.
Interesting.
Yeah, the Purdys were known to fight in the Crusades.
Illuminati confirmed.
Right.
Do you
So
know-
this
do you know
also
Rock-
raises the possibilities that I have some sort of pagan cool warriorness. But none of that matters if I'm just sitting on my ass doing a podcast. Let's have some fun But anyway, that's a little bit about where I come from.
Enough about me. So do you know Brock? Do you know Brock Purdy?
I don't know, but I do know that I am related to the Purdys who founded Purdy's New York.
Brock Purdy plays for the San Francisco 49ers.
Gotcha.
And he's a, guess what sign he is? He's a Capricorn.
Mm.
And we're talking about Capricorn, right? And he was the very last pick in the NFL draft. So that would be the 7th round. And so that's normally known as Mr. Irrelevant. And Brock Purdy has taken the San Francisco 49ers to the Super Bowl. His first 3 years in playing pro football at his position are almost unmatched statistically. And he's a very interesting character. He's total Capricorn. He doesn't show a lot of emotion when he's on the field. He's a declared born-again Christian or Christian. So his faith is a very big part of his life. And he shares your name, Brock Purdy from Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah. So one thing I found out is that there's a couple of different etymological definitions for Purdy. So I'm not necessarily named in the Latin. Purdy also is I think, I can't remember if it was Gaelic. One of them is Gaelic, but it means pure day. And then the other one means basically the little hearth. So one means the little hearth, and the other one means the pure day.
That's cool.
Yeah. So otherwise, it's per deus in the Latin.
Right.
Which means for God.
There is a little hearth constellation called Ara Altair. And I believe that this is, and there's a character next to it called Indus, but I think we could plug Hestia from the Greek mythology into Indus because she's keeping this fire, this little furnace table.
What's it near in the zodiac? I want to know if any of my planets hit it.
It's a hard one to pinpoint to a month because it's so extreme south. They get really jarbled in the extreme south.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I would say, but Ara Altair is a minor deacon of Sagittarius. It's a minor deacon of Sagittarius, and if you here, I can actually let me show something. I'm so excited to have you here, Robert. I just love I love your work, man. I just want to fanboy out all night, but so
let's do it, man. Let's do it.
All right. So if let me find it. If this is Ophiuchus, his heel is balancing on the elliptic plane, and some say he's balancing on Scorpio, some say he's balancing on Sagittarius arrow. But if a drop of blood drips off of Ophiuchus, it lands on the altar. The drop of blood from his heel lands on our altar. And there's a lot of JFK in the mix with the way that these constellations work together in their coterminal relationships.
Yeah, and you know that's kind of interesting. What popped into my head right away when you said that was the mythos of the binding of Loki. So when Loki is finally caught for the plot against Balder, his punishment was to be strung up in the underworld, basically to be tortured, hanging underneath the Nidhogger, basically the great serpent, right? And these bindings are bound to the very core and root of the earth, right? This is all the way in the south, right? So south is, in our psyche, this place. And so venom drips, and it's meant to drip over his head, but there's a bowl that catches the venom. Now, Loki's wife, Sigyn, who she is the goddess of victory. She's a Jotun who is the goddess of victory. This is the lucky one's wife, right? So she has to fucking replace the bowl every so often, right?
Huh.
And whether Loki likes it or not, there's no time frame that doesn't cause the venom to drip onto his face. He writhes in agony and causes earthquakes. This is a mythos that explains where earthquakes come from, because earthquakes are a big part of Ragnarok, right? Because he will be loosed from his bindings in the Ragnarok of the events of chaos happening in the surface that he will be intricately tied to because he's been bound to the roots of the earth actually end up feeding him his power in this way. This is precisely what he does to himself at the end of Loki season 2.
Yes, and the Loki season 2 grand finale is it's all green chords when he takes that throne, right? He grabs
Right.
all the chords and it's all very green.
Yeah.
This is very much fulfilling the essence of the universe card in this deck. And I love this card in particular because I see it relating to that Indus constellation and Hestia, the keeper of the hearth. But next to Indus is a peacock. And this whole card is one big peacock feather. The whole motif of
Right.
it is the peacock feather.
Mm.
And so, in that moment when Loki is taking the throne, I see the completion. I mean, this is the last card in the tarot, 21.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's
Right.
very apropos how they play through the tarot deck.
Yeah.
Robert, I have a grand theory that the entire Thoth deck is the costume department of Hollywood. And I think that they use these, particularly the Thoth deck. Because Crowley is very likely the grandfather of Bush, who pulled off the 9/11 that had all the Crowley numbers. You know,
Right.
if we give Crowley his due props for inseminating the Plantagenet bloodline, Barbara Bush, who looks a lot like Emperor Palpatine, then this deck is a cornerstone of culture, whether we like it or not. And so I think that his
Yeah.
deck is the costume department that so much of film and cinema depends on. It depends on.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. I could totally see that. And even if the connection is maybe more ambient than direct, right? You've got Jack Parsons in LA, right, with L. Ron Hubbard in LA, which again is, their characters, right? Their characters in a very interesting movie, but literally placed in the cradle, right, of Hollywood in Los Angeles, as a relationship through Crowley. It indirectly, but directly at the same time.
Right.
So yeah,
right.
that makes a lot of sense. And then,
Yeah.
of course, all the Crowley stuff really crops up when we hit the 60s. Kenneth Anger starts making movies, and Charlie Manson moves in, and the whole Laurel Canyon scene takes off. And yeah, Crowley spirit is kind of over that scene as well.
Totally. And
Yeah.
I just saw a map of all of the ley lines in the UK, and it makes a big pentagram shape around UK. But the center point of the pentagrams of the UK ley lines is the Loch
Yeah.
Ness, Fort George of Loch Ness, which is ground zero for a lot of the Crowley works.
Yeah, yeah. I went to Loch Ness one time.
Really?
And, yeah. I went. We went. We. I was part of this group, and we decided to. Well, it was part of the group experience being at Loch Ness, but afterwards we decided to hit these ley lines. Like we went to Glastonbury, and then we went to this place called Iona, which is a very small, remote island off the coast of Scotland, which is a major part of sort of. If you look at your ley line map, I'm sure you'll see Iona. It'll pop up there, and then those dragon lines are really powerful. England is a really powerful place, right? England, Wales, Scotland. It's like super, super powerful. I've experienced things there that are I can't explain. I can't explain how I experienced that, but I did. and I'll attribute it to like what's going on, sort of geomagnetically.
Yeah. What does he call? What's it called? The William Blake has a nickname for that island. I forget what he calls it.
Albion, it's called well.
Thank you.
He calls yeah. So what's really interesting is,
Perfidious
do you know the
Albion.
tour? What's that?
Perfidious Albion.
Perfidious Albion. Have you? So do you know the Tor in Glastonbury? You know the Tor? It's this. It's this. So if you look at Glastonbury, there's this hill. It's called the Tor, Tor,
Oh.
and it has these like it's almost like a. If you were to take a labyrinth and expand it in 3D, it's almost like a 3D labyrinth. So you kind of circumnavigate it, and you get to the top, and there's kind of this older structure of the Tor. It has nothing to do with. It's older, but it's like newer than the Tor itself, Tor. And if you are at the bottom of the Tor, there's like this it's like a small country lane. And at one point, this country lane was, it had these massive oak trees. And there were only two of them left before you get to the Tor. And the names of these oak trees are Gog and Magog. And they're so big. Yeah, they're so big. It takes like 5 people holding hands to wrap their arms around these oak trees. That's how thick they are. They're the last 2 remaining giants of these procession of giant oaks that lead up to the Tor. So when I was there, and it's like, it's not like an uncommon occurrence, but if you get to the top of the Tor and you sit there, and if it's a foggy day, what you'll see is like these other, like, they're not the same as the Tor, but they look like the Tor, and you'll see them in the, like poking up above the fog, right? And you can envision like Avalon, and these are like the mists of Avalon, and you can see like these were like at maybe one point even islands that were part of some other kind of chain or structure that was going on there. It's really a very magical place. I would recommend anybody who has a chance to go to Glastonbury. But Iona is the mind blower, because to get to Iona you have to go to this place called Oban, which is on the Scottish coast, and then from there you have to go and take a bus and cross this other island called Mull. And Mull has been completely deforested, so there's like no trees there. It's like really creepy, really creepy. And then you take this bus all the way to the other side of Mull, and then you take a little ferry, when I say ferry, I'm not talking about a big ferry, like something that can take a car or 2. And it takes you to Iona. And that's where Christianity came from Ireland to Scotland. It's the most remote place I've ever been in my life. And it's really like powerful. And like you can walk, the island is really small, and you can walk around it in a very brief period of time, but it feels like you're walking forever. Like there's this weird time thing that goes on there. So that's part of that island. Iona is part of that whole system of ley lines, which you were referring to, that wind up in that Loch Ness area. Yeah, man. England and Wales and Scotland are really powerful.
Yes. I think almost every book report of my elementary school career was on the Loch Ness Monster.
Right? Yeah, Loch Ness Monster. Did you ever see Werner Herzog's documentary on the Loch Ness Monster?
No.
Yeah, I love Werner Herzog, by the way. He's such a character.
When did he make it?
Oh, it's been out for a while. I would say he probably made it sometime in the 2010s. He claims to have like a kind of, what would you call it? A sonar image. He claims, and it's actually in the movie. Now, whether that's true or not, I don't know, because he's a bit of a raconteur. Right? So,
Well,
but I like it.
yeah, you know that the Google Earth, uh, there's a fellow, I think you know Dutch Sense, who does
Yes,
the
not
earthquake.
personally, I know of
Yeah, he monitors earthquakes, and he's on the Google Earth, and he has honed in on Fort George from an aerial view. And this fort, it looks very much like the head of a serpent.
it. That
And
doesn't surprise me.
yeah, it's really
Yeah,
nifty to look at.
yeah, yep. Of course, the ley lines are dragon lines. That's what they call them, right? So it makes sense
Hmm.
that the head of the dragon, the head of the serpent, if it ends there, would look like that. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
Wow,
s-
well, you guys have been going deep here tonight, man. I feel like you shoved me out to the deep end of the pool real fast, but it's great. I love what you're bringing to the table.
I'm so glad you came. I'm so glad you made it.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
one thing the one thing that I found that's kind of interesting around January 6th in terms of like an actual uh, day. So there's a couple things. So in 1066, so you have your six there, your 1 6, right? The two sixes. Following the death of Edward the Confessor on the previous day, the White Hand meets to confirm Harold Godwinson as the new King of England. Harold is crowned the same day, sparking a succession crisis that will eventually lead to the Norman conquest of England. So this is kind
Wow.
of in the same spirit of what you're talking about,
Yes. You know,
right?
yes. Uh, I have the craziest fact about the Norman conquest. This is so weird, but we still kind of, in our language, we're adhering to that conquest still in culinary arts. It turns out that most of the words for your meat products, once they're dead, they become linguistically the words from the Saxons, I think the losing side. We use the losing side's words for food once it's dead, but when it was still alive, we call it the Norman word.
Oh,
And,
interesting.
and so what we call cattle is a Norman word, but once it's dead, we call it beef. Well, that's actually from the losing side of that battle. And that's replete through a great amount of our culinary practices still.
Wow,
I have a
that's
good question. Um, because I think one of the events that's really running through my mind is like, uh, what are we really worried about, which makes January 6th uh, um an important conversation? Is the
Pre-crime.
idea of what does um, an attack that actually affects the ceasing of the functioning of the state look like, right? And so I was thinking about, because of the topic of the night with astrology and history repeating itself, what was the astrology like when Rome was sacked and it was the big sign that the empire did not have strength anymore, right? And when is that coming up for us? Because we seem to be in this denial period, because I don't believe that there are good numbers entering the military, even with um, what Trump is turning around because of very personal decisions about things that have arisen since, right? So,
You know,
yeah. I don't know. I haven't gone there, but it feels like Trump is definitely playing the role as the new Caesar, isn't he?
totally, totally. You know, one thing that is an echo from the fall of Rome or the fall of empires, you know, the seculum, so to say. They say that the cultures right before they uh, go beyond uh, the precipice, they will start to stop venerating their athleticism, their physical excellence, and they'll start in over investing hubristically into cuisine. and the culinary highfalutin, extremely hard to gain uh, uh, delicacies. And I actually hear this in kind of the argument about immigration. A lot of people on the liberal side will say, oh, this is great. They can come be chefs and we can have exotic foods for cheap. So let them on in, let them on in. And so there's this aspect of like, oh, we're doing this so we can have exotic cuisine. While the other side of the political spectrum is like, I want to see your papers. Show me your papers.
I believe this one of the CIA's like most public facing operations is in culinary diversity based stuff, which explains why Anthony Bourdain isn't with us anymore.
Oh, dang, buddy.
Yeah,
Dang.
yeah.
When I heard about that in the CIA, I said to myself immediately, oh, fucking Anthony Bourdain.
Well,
Wow.
Bourdain would have been the perfect operative, wouldn't he? Like
Traveling.
he has access to any country of the world. Right, he mingles between sort of high culinary status and street food.
At a certain
Um,
point, I thought he was the only decent person that was a name on CNN. At a certain point, he was like the only fucking human being I believe maybe had 5 minutes of a soul. His episode on Tokyo was so fucking good, right? Because he went to like cool parties that were like the cool anime red light district, and then also he goes to the ancient fucking sushi guy, and I'm just like, yeah, dude, that's Japan. Now people get it, right? Like that's something I liked about what he did. He went to India and he said, you know what, man, maybe I'd be a vegan if I was here, because it's actually great nutritious food here, right? It's just like they do better at veganism, like over there, somewhat.
So, Robert, before we close off, I really want to show off a couple of the fun things that I do with the tarot cards and the zodiac.
can I chime in on Anthony Bourdain really quickly?
Yeah,
Uh,
please do. Yeah.
So I have a theory about Anthony Bourdain. I think Anthony Bourdain is Leonard Cohen's son.
Oh, whoa! Hallelujah! Praise the
So,
Lord.
so if you look at pictures of Leonard Cohen and Anthony Bourdain, they look a lot alike. Now, here's the kicker with this.
Wow.
Anthony Bourdain's father was in the music business. Anthony Bourdain's father worked for, I believe, either CBS or Columbia, and he was in the classical music division. His mother was a writer, and his mother, I don't think she was a food writer. I think she was an arts and entertainment writer. And what's interesting is that Leonard Cohen is actually in New York City around the time that Anthony Bourdain's mother would be going to college. And Anthony Bourdain is born not like, if you do the math on it, it's very conceivable that when Leonard Cohen was in New York City, and remember, he comes from the music world. And Anthony Bourdain's father was an executive at Columbia or CBS in the classical division. Right, so there's a music connection. And Anthony Bourdain is born right around the same time frame as Leonard Cohen's visit to New York. And the other part is that if you look at Anthony Bourdain's brother, and there was an episode where I believe they went to Uruguay together, and Bourdain was looking up his historical roots there. He and his brother do not look a lot alike. Like,
Wow.
there are some similarities, but they're very different looking. So I actually brought this to the attention of Ann Diamond, and she brought it to Henry Mackow, and Henry Mackow did a kind of a post on that. And so look it up, look at Bourdain and look at Cohen, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Man, so Robert,
But yeah, yeah, look, I've also seen the comparative photo to uh, Bourdain and Epstein.
oh
Epstein
snap!
also
Dun
looks
dun
looks
dun.
similar to him, and then this gets then this starts to get into some tribal conversations that I think we're all pretty comfortable having on this politically incorrect channel.
Yeah, that makes me think of the Thomas Jefferson thread to Epstein. Maybe there is a through line through all of these genetics, and
Right,
Yeah.
right.
you know,
And I'm not saying that Anthony Bourdain is a bad person, especially
right, right,
considering what I said when I brought him up, right?
right,
But
right.
at the same time, it's like maybe it's just the way the media chooses faces. I don't know.
Well, I want to say something that I've learned from studying the ancient Greek texts, that in the Timaeus, which is one of the oldest and most uh, trustworthy of all of the Greek works, in the Timaeus they specifically talk about we should have probably the elites uh, do a raffling, and we should be in control of the raffle to determine who matches up with who for mating rights. And this is on the highest echelons of the elites. And then the same dynamic is repeated in Plato's Republic, where they talk about we should people should think that they're choosing their partner, but in fact, that we should never let them know that we're arranging these things behind the scenes. And then they even go on and talk
Right.
about what the psychological fallout for the masses will be when they all start to question if
Yeah.
their own
Yeah.
parents are theirs.
Yeah, yeah. This is part of the details in the box saga, right? There's this kind of wrestling match going on between uh something deep in our psyche that is the way we were as humanity. And then there are those of us of bloodlines that were cut off from the original family after that Ragnarok. And then there are those that came from the survivors of that family afterwards. And these are all the people that are trying to be all about divine right of kings because they're trying to uh, restore their control, and they're operating with now a public that doesn't do things the way that they used to do things when they had paradise, because the whole world is constructed differently now. People speak different languages, and there's no cohesion, and the environment's completely different because we're now on an axial tilt with seasons. So all these things happened, and so they're trying to figure out how to restore control under completely different new parameters, and this is how they fuck with these bloodlines to keep certain people of certain roles in their original hierarchy. And this is one of the things the Bach saga teaches us. And I would say the only element missing is the off-worlder intervention. That's about the only thing I'd say is missing.
Interesting. All right, I want to see what Slick has got going on with his tarot and astrology.
All
All right.
right. All right.
Hit me with. We'll go 15 more minutes, and then I really got to call it on this one, and I want to do this again, like maybe like next week or something. Rob, we'll tighten up doing it and get it done right.
Okay, sure.
Okay, cool. All right, go for it, Slick.
I think he's muted.
Okay, your mic cut out. Give him a second. He just has to finagle it. The problem he semi has under control. Ooh.
Any good? Is that good?
Yep, we're good.
Yeah, yeah,
Hear ya.
you're good.
We hear you.
All right. Can you make my image bigger?
Huge. Yeah, I was doing it before. I think I was, right? So, does everybody see Slick big on the screen? He's big on my screen, so I can't even do anything. I have to look on a phone.
Not yet, but that's okay. I think I could just get out of the way. I'll just get out of the way. So, Robert, what I've done is I've put the tarot cards in their zodiacal placement. And I had to go off script to a large degree, even going, by the spoon-fed Crowley book. There's a lot of in between the lines, a lot of in between the lines. Like you're not going to find any book telling you that the Tower card is in Aquarius. I had to actually go to the star chart to fit in some of these things that you won't get out of the books. But I've put the entire tarot system into the zodiac, and I was studying Michael Wan and Ross Ben when they were having a conversation about ley lines and the 40th parallel. And when they were talking, it dawned on me that if I put the zodiac on the United States, then Virgo is in Virginia, right? There's the first little hint that I was like, wow, Virgo would line up with Virginia. And if I use the 37, 36 degree Mason-Dixon line as an equinox line, then that makes sense that Virgo would be in Virginia. And then I just kind of started plugging and playing with some other correspondences throughout, and without going, dragging it all night long. But like the Chariot card in Detroit, the Chariot card in also where the Indy 500 right here with Indiana. So the Chariot and Cancer all up here. And then we got the Gemini is Gemini Soda. Minnesota is right here,
Well,
and
it's also the Twin Cities too, right?
you got it. Yes. So this reinforces itself on many layers. And I've even gone to the state flags and the mascots of the football teams. So we've got the Star card is down here in the Lone Star State with Texas. Texas has got the Cowboys with the star on their helmet. So
That's right. Yeah.
yep. So this whole system that I've got going on here is fascinating and fun and reinforced through mascots and heraldry of our identity as the Northern United States. And
That is so cool, man.
Thank you. Thank you. I get a lot of reward out of this. And,
This is like a really interesting, like, this is like macro dot connecting.
Totally, totally. And
So what do you have going on in Florida? What do you have down in Florida?
yeah, buddy, that's the death card where everybody goes to retire. Also, the Florida the Buccaneers, they've got the skull and the cross swords as their symbol.
Yep.
And
It's my contention that the Bermuda Triangle is kind of like the Well of Souls.
yeah, buddy, the Bermuda Triangle is a hangman card right here. Yes, and even Haiti and the Dominican Republic, they line up with the art or temperance card. Yeah, yeah. So there's a lot of fun in this thing, but also go ahead.
And so do you have like the priestess for like Louisiana, New Orleans? Is that what you have there?
You're feeling it. You're totally tuning into it. Yep. I put the priestess as almost Mississippi and the river itself, and just across the river is a devil card for New Orleans.
Right. Yeah.
So so hold on. So then who is Virginia?
Virgo, and it's
Virgo.
yep,
Right.
and let me. I mean, it's so fun. But
Well, wait, no. Well, Virgo's astrology. I mean tarot. What tarot card is Virginia?
Hermit. Thank you for
Yes,
specifying.
Hermit.
So I would say
Yeah.
I would say this is Lang Lai. This is a big red tongue. This is Langley. This is the lying tongue of Langley in Virginia.
Okay.
And of course, for all the spycraft that Crowley was into, they're gonna hit this one on the note. But one really fun thing, Robert, is the center. I call it the placenta of my tarot Tories map. Is where the Mississippi. Wow. Where the Mississippi River crosses over the Mason-Dixon line is a nexus point where there are the most states are coterminal to each other in any square miles of the whole United States. There's almost 7 states where their corners are all touching in this placenta of the Mississippi. And right there is where I put my Fool card, and the Fool card is lining up with Fort Knox in a major way. It is very close to Fort Knox. And so all of this headline about we're going to go down to Fort Knox and we're going to pull a moon landing hoax on Fort Knox, and it's going to expand out for generations.
Weren't we earlier before Robert came on, when you were talking about Voltaire, we were breaking down the name Voltaire, and didn't you use the word vault?
Yes,
Right.
yes. Yep,
Yeah.
that's the electric lightning bolt of Aquarius. Some people would say is an ether
Yeah.
or an
Yeah.
electric
And
element.
and this is a fort, and a fortified structure as such is going to be a hall. This is going to a hall, so that's the Val, right? So
Right.
it's a fort, it's a vault, it's a Val, it's a hall, right? So this is where the plutocrats are supposed to be keeping the assets of the nation.
Yeah.
Right.
It reminds me of what's his name that unlocked the vault of Al Capone. What's his name?
You Jerry Rivers, also known as Geraldo Rivera.
Ah, good call. Good play on the name. Yes, yes. It's
Well,
kind
that's
of
his
like
real name, Jerry
Yeah, yeah.
Rivers. That's
yeah.
his real name. He became
I
Geraldo
also
Rivera.
just to track back a second on CIA and Langley.
Yeah.
After you said that, especially because we've been talking about time so much, I just realized the Langoliers.
Who are
Think
they?
about it. If the CIA guys are fucking with memories to destroy our ability to to have our orientation in time in
Uh-huh.
space, that's the Langoliers eating away at your synaptic responses to the world.
Interesting. That sounds like hypocorism, where they erode
It's
the
it
edges off
sounds
of
like it
words.
sounds like Alzheimer's and dementia.
Yeah.
Trust
Yeah.
me, I watched my grandmother's mind deteriorate her entire fucking life, and it's one of the most horrible fucking things
Oh,
to see in
okay.
helplessness. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's the roughest of things.
So our language does that. Our language will lose its meaning. It will lose its barbed edge as we treat it like a pet
Yeah,
name and we wash, rinse, repeat. And the certain trigger words become rounded out like a pill that will go down more easily. One
she almost
example.
completely forgot how to speak English, and I didn't know enough French to be conversational.
Interesting.
So that's how sad it was.
Yeah. You know, a good example of hypocorism and rounding out the edges of words. I think of the word overseer. Used to be the last person you want to come and try to help you in a situation. The overseer's the guy with the whip on the horseback in the fields. But
Mhm.
today,
Right.
if you get in an accident, the first person you're required to call is an overseer, is a police overseer. And so the word overseer has turned into officer. And now we hope that they come to fill out our paperwork and bear witness for us. But yeah, I just wanted to share the territories map with you, Robert.
Oh,
Uh,
that's great, man. That's really cool.
yeah, and
I
you
love
know,
that.
with Neptune lingering on just over the in Pisces, just about to cross it over into Aries.
Hmm.
It's been there for a long time, but
Yep.
there was a fascinating, almost a lint spark when Venus passed under Neptune is when the LA fires
Hmm.
kicked off. And that happened, and I can actually kind of see events around the map. When these planets crisscross each other, there will be an event that sparks off on the map.
So I did a dive on the chart of Los Angeles, and Los Angeles, the IC for Los Angeles is one Aquarius. So when
Whoa.
Pluto hit zero Aquarius, right, what did it
Yeah.
do? Like it hit the IC for LA, and also that means the MC for LA is Leo, right? Leo, and at that
Wow.
time there was a Mars Leo opposition going on, right?
Dang.
Mars Leo fire. You can absolutely see the transits. You can see the fire through the transits on the chart of Los Angeles, and
That's powerful.
it's actually pretty striking. The other thing that you can see is if you overlay the chart of China, with LA, you can see that the Chinese are heavily invested in Los Angeles. And if you overlay China with both the map of the chart of LA and the fire, there's a smoking gun there.
Dang, man, that is powerful.
Well, there was, when I did it, it was like, holy shit. You know, and of course with Pluto, they're going to rebuild everything theoretically, right? So it's going to go through the fire and come out the other side. Yeah, so, but that's interesting with Venus, what you're talking about.
Right.
What do you, I'd love your guys' take, and we can get out of here after this. I hope we don't talk about this for too long. But with this new moon in Pisces, resting between the Sun and Saturn, right? It will be kind of at the midpoint between the Sun and Saturn. Like, what are your thoughts around that, and like what's happening with the Pope? Because I'm not sure the Pope makes it through like this new moon phase. What do you think about this?
Zerilath, can you pull up the last graphic I sent you in the Telegram? Because Robert totally hit the final point I was hoping to get to. This is perfect.
Last graphic.
Yeah, the most recent.
Is that the Muppet stuff, or did you send me another one?
I sent you one more. It's got the Pope on it.
Ah, okay.
So
Hang on, I had to open it up.
I've kind of
And we gotta begin to wrap it up too, because
Yep.
I want to hit the hay.
For sure.
Bear
So
with
I've
me.
actu-
Download it.
I've actually promised a bunch of people that drinks are on me, if I'm correct, that the Pope's gonna pop on 314. I'm
314. Yeah.
it's a pi number.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm pretty sure there's a lunar standstill, a very significant lunar standstill on Pi Day this year in Pisces.
So you think 314? Something's gonna happen with this because that new moon sitting right between the Sun and Saturn, right? And Saturn is the Hierophant.
Yes.
All right,
yes.
here we go. Look at that puffer fish.
Oof.
Right.
It looks like hell.
He looks.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that's the movie
Yeah,
you
he
were
looks
referring to, the Pope's
awful.
Exorcist, Russell Crowe.
Yes, there was a great amount of, people call it predictive programming, but Zerilath has me using the term promulgation protocols or inception protocols.
Inception protocols. Yeah.
And Russell Crowe, in his intro scene, in his opening first impression, his beard is so pronounced and off color. It's intentionally off color from his color of his hair. It looks like a double chin, or it looks like the Pope right now, the way that it presents that beard. And also the puffer fish. Now this actually comes back around in the coolest way. The puffer fish is known in sensational fiction for having elements that people have used to fake their death. And so as the Pope, who is the fish, right? He's got the Pisces, the capiche.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
You know, he's got the hat of understanding.
Yeah,
As he is swelling up like a puffer fish, it's just so meta. It's so meta, the layers of babushka meaning, because we're in Pisces, right? We're moving into Pisces. But then in the film,
and he's taking the pufferfish tetrodotoxin. Is that what you're saying, or is that
No.
just what the fish has?
the puffer fish is inside Gnostic baseball symbolism for the Thomist Gnostics believed that Jesus faked his death and he actually got down off that cross. And there's a sacred bloodline out there for the Priory of Zion to keep track of in France.
That's one of the he faked death or he survived the crucifixion stories that I've heard. Yeah.
Yes. So the puffer fish is kind of Gnostic inside signaling. But the fascinating thing, Robert, when I'm watching this Pope's Exorcist, there's a child in the film who looks a lot like Evan Pilato from Media Monarchy as a child. He looks just like him. It's creepy. But then when he goes demonic, his face changes and they actually make him look like the statue of the demon from the movie, whose name is Asmodeus. And that statue is in the Le Rennes La Chateau Mysteries, and I put a little picture in the upper right there. So the child's face looks more and more like the statue as he goes demonic. But then his sister has to, in the middle of the adrenaline, when all the adrenaline is running high, the drama is maxed out, the sister has to frantically take a needle and extract an antidote from a vial while everything's going crazy. And then the sister sticks the kid in the neck. And I was triggered because I'm thinking about vaccines, but I had to calm down and kind of think this through. And actually, because the child is having a seizure, the actual ingredients of that injection would have to be tetrodotoxin. It's actually used to relieve seizure issues and seizures in emergency. And so the full circle of the symbolism really came through when I thought it through.
Here's another thing I want to say real quick as I'm thinking about it, especially with all the blemishes on his head, is that I like the data that comes out of the remote viewers at the Farsight Institute. I don't like their editorial afterworks. I just like the raw data. And they did a remote viewing on the Pope, and there is a strange interdimensional intelligence that is pretty much running complete interference over his entire mind.
Is that another way to say he's a Jesuit?
No, no, no. But I am sure Jesuit ritual has everything to do with it. But this is something. This is something. This. I can't remember what the data said. For some reason, I'm thinking it had something AI-ish to be or whatever. But anyway, I want to let Robert respond to what you said, and then I want everybody to drop your links to your channels are in the description box of this live stream. But then everybody tell everybody so we can get bouncing.
I'm not sure how much more I have to add to what Slick said. When I look at him, the word Pope doesn't really come to mind, but the word pop comes to mind because he looks like he's a blister that's about to fucking pop.
Right? You could, yeah. I mean, like if he's that big in the body too, just I didn't want to initially say it going that far, but Monty Python, Meaning of Life. Everybody knows
there it is,
exactly
right
what I'm talking about.
Totally, totally.
Just
stick a fork at him.
Just have one more crack. One more mass. One more mass. Mass. He has mass.
Right.
This is hysterical.
It's
This is God laughing at how the devil punishes the sinners.
That's all I have to say.
So one more interesting, I put the full card in this image because there's a famous line, I think from Orwell. If you want a picture of the future, imagine a boot stamping on the face of a human forever. Well, there is a boot in the negative space of the full card that fits the peninsula of Sicily perfectly. And so the boot stomping on a face forever, that line is immortalized in the Rider-Waite Fool card. So you might notice there's a little map of Italy on the head of the Fool card if you look very closely.
Yes. Yeah, I can see that.
In between his legs, this is really wild, is a perfect map of South America upside down. Do you see the negative space between his legs?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Is a perfect map of South America, which I'll just point out that South America is extremely Catholic. Extremely Catholic.
Well, he's from Argentina, right?
He's from Argentina. Thank you. Yes, that's the color of the entire card is the colors of Argentina. Yeah, very fun weaves, Rob. It was great to show off some of my art craft with you.
Yeah,
Thank
man,
you,
that was
Zerilath.
awesome. I love that map, and I love the correspondences. Very cool. So, yeah, thanks for having me, Steve.
Oh
I'm sorry,
yeah,
I'm sorry,
it's
Sugar
it's
Blade.
it's my it's my honor. It's just so everyone knows, this is the second time I've had Robert on the channel. I've had Gabe on many times, and if Wednesday is not perfect for you, because I know I dropped the suggestion on the spot, we'll make an amendment. But about a week from now, whenever you got the time, and we'll do something a little bit more precise to where I thought that, because I had a little bit of a different idea of the conversation in mind, right? But this was a good way for it to go, because I wanted Gabe to be on point for it. All right,
Cool.
all right,
All
guys.
right, fellas.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm gonna go get through the rest of my work week. Good night. Oh, I gotta. How do I end this? I forgot how to
Eventually.
end it. I think do. I just hit end or end session for all. I think I just end the session. All right, bye.